Recording has failed, recording has started. Okay, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's Thursday tutorial. I'm going to be going through random access again, just to make sure you guys are comfortable with the concept. And this again is a reminder that next week, Monday, is your group project due at 12 in the afternoon. Your peer review is then due by the Thursday, the 15th of October. I'll post a video on how to complete the peer review. You'll also do a Google Doc form on your team feedback so we can double check. Ladies and gentlemen, with the peer review, if someone's not doing their work, you give them 0. Source control. What about source control? Remember, that's bonus marks. Source control is bonus marks. You can, okay, audio is now enabled. You can talk if you want, but I'm not sure what you mean by source control. Just elaborate on that while we finish the announcements. And then, so you have your peer review. Peer review, I'll post a video on how to do the peer review. It'll be out by Monday, but you'll have the whole of next week to do the peer review. The peer review is where you evaluate each section of the project and evaluate your team members on their performance and your own performance. And then that with that combined with the mark, it gets your own mark out. So it's not just the assistant marking. The assistant will mark the assignment. They'll give a mark for the assignment for the group. Then you do the peer review, and then the peer review gives you your individual marks. How do we show that we have used it in our submission? Provide a link to the repository. The assistant can then click on the link and check the repository. In your design, have a section source control and say, here's the link. Because you'll have most likely a public GitHub repository if you've got a source control. If they can click on the link and follow it, then they can see that you use source control, and you'll get your bonus marks. Okay. So again, but Thursday next week, it's the team peer review. Each member must do the peer review, and then your team review also must be done in a Google form, so we can just get some additional feedback from you guys to make sure the marks are accurately reflected. And as I mentioned, if a team member has done nothing, you give them 0 in the peer review to try. Give them no marks for the practical. We have no issue with students getting 0 for the practical if they've done nothing at all. Okay. There's no other announcements I can think of besides, remember, next week, Friday, at 2 o'clock, we will be posting semester assessment 2, and you have then 3 hours to do the practical and an hour to upload. Please remember, an hour to upload, not an hour to do extra work, and not an hour and 15 minutes to upload, 1 hour. So if you are uploading late, you're not going to get it in. Regardless of your situation, load shedding, bad network, whatever, that's how we structured it. So please make sure that you have access to the necessary data if you're off campus. Hardware, I believe the labs are open. You can get access to the hardware there. So there's no excuses on that front anymore. So please make sure your submission is in time. And one last thing, ladies and gentlemen, before I forget, we've posted the dates and times on Eve, but your semester test will have a copy checker performed on it. We will double check that no one is working together in groups or doing work for each other. We will be running a copy checker on it. If you got caught copying, I don't want to deal with that crap. Trust me, it will not go well for you. That's the easiest way to say it. It will not end well for you. Okay, so please do not copy, do not get other people to help you, do your own work. It's an open book exam, semester test. It's not that hard to do it with. Okay, so please be honest with your work. Don't work together in teams or whatever you guys are thinking of doing. It is not that hard if you've done your practicals. Is handwritten code allowed? Yes, handwritten code is allowed. always, this year we're accepting handwritten code, yes. Yeah, but you can go onto campus and use the machines as well if you want. Yeah, that's it for the announcements. I promised on last week, or promised this week, Tuesday, I would discuss the interface because this is a very different interface to what you guys are used to. So is it okay if I go through the interface, then I jump into the code, or how do you want me to do the TUT? Code, then interface, or interface, then code? Okay, code. Code first, okay. I'll do the interface. I'm just asking which order you guys want. Okay. Okay, is everyone okay that I got my constant file name, my record size, the record number of records? This is from the question. If you're wondering what question this is from, you can download, sorry, tutorial 10. That is the question I'm working with. It says specifically there are 30 records, so I know how many records there are. The record size is calculated based on this. So 4, 8, 12, 16, plus 40 for the string. The hash, nearest prime number to 30, 29. And this is the record position. Keep that in mind, the record position. Everyone okay with a blank record? I'm making up a blank record to write to the code. I'm just altering this code to match what I've did on, or reverting it back to what I've done on Tuesday. Okay, that's all right. I'll explain the blank record now. I'm just making sure everything else is in order so I can work through it. So, okay, everyone's okay. We import system.io. We have the file stream, the binary reader, binary writer. These are not the same as the binary formatter. Binary reader and writer will work with binary data only. Binary formatter is designed to work with the serialization of an object. I have a blank record that I write to file. Now, the blank record serves a purpose as a placeholder. So when I create the file, I open the file stream. I'm not going to retype this all out, so we don't waste time on that. Open the file stream. I write, because if you want to see me typing this out, watch Tuesday's TAT. I did it step by step. So I'm just going to explain it more. Then I set up my binary writer with the file stream as its property, its parameter. I set the length, so I've got a guaranteed set length. And then I'll start looping through every possible record from 0 to 29. And I write a blank record. So I write an empty file to every single possible location. So what it looks like is this. So if I click create file, display, you notice I have everything is blank records. So what I've done is I've put a placeholder at every possible location as a blank record. So I know if it's blank or not, or if something is stored there or not. Okay, so it's just a way of inserting knowing you've got a blank location. Does that explain the blank record? So we know it's a blank record. I did the same and it gives me a null reference. Where does it give you a null reference? Okay, and while you are typing that out, the answer to this, remember a beverage ID, a beverage number is between 1 and 4,500. So a -1 is a good indication of a blank record, because no beverage ID will be -1. You can talk if you don't want to type, because those don't really matter. When I check if it's blank or not, I check the ID, nothing else. So if we go down to read, if we go down to reading a record, I check if it is a -1, if the ID is -1. If the ID is -1, I send a blank record back because I know it's empty. I don't need to bother reading the rest. So you're asking a very depressing question, Ms. Zwane. Beverage number is identified. It's the key, yes. Zwane, why are you asking such a depressing question? Okay, but to answer your question nonetheless, if you fail Informatics 1B, you'll repeat it in the second semester. There's no offering of 1B in the first semester. So you have to wait till the second semester to attempt it again. The blank record is always set to -1 for the identifier, the blank record. So the question in chat, so the identifier is always set to -1 if it's a blank record. In formal assessments, will the key be given or will be identified, or will we need to identify it ourselves? We will tell you what the key is. We'll say the key is the beverage ID or something. We'll tell you what the key is, don't worry. Generally, the key is normally always the first value in the record structure as well. Okay, first value in the record structure. Okay. No, the user never inputs -1. We input -1. The blank record isn't something the user interacts with. The blank record is something that we create as a developer. So we, as you can see, as I've highlighted the section of code, this section of code is the blank record. So I'll make it inside form load. I'll set up the blank record. I only ever actually use the blank record in the creation of the file. Same as file set length. I only ever use set length once in the creation of the file. You don't set length again, ever. Okay? If you're going to use set length, you use it once and only once in your create file. You don't use it more than that. And you only write your blank record to file once if you're creating it. Maybe if you're deleting, maybe then you can use it again. But yeah. We can look at deleting a record as well if you want today. It gives me an error in 61. Yeah. I'll explain the seek again. Okay, it gives me an error in line 61. I'm not sure why that would give me an error. Okay. Let me answer the question while you give me a bit more detail on what's happening there. What does set length and seek do? Set length, I'll show you. Yes, I will show you. Don't worry. I'll do it at the end. People have asked for me to first go through the code. So I'm going through the code, then I'll do the interface. Remember, the interface isn't worth marks in the semester test, so don't stress too much about that. Okay. Set length is designed to set the length of the file or how much data is being used in the file. So I'm saying that there is 30 records. Each record is 42 or 56 bytes. Okay. So I'm setting the length of the file to 30 times 56. So the size of the file is then 1068 bytes in total. So I'll set the length and I'll leave it at that. So I've got my exact size file set up and created. My seek is to go to a specific location based on a file position. So when I go filestream.seek, I apologize for the background barking. Just hold on. Okay, that should shut them up for a while. Okay, the seek is designed to seek a position in the file. So let me switch to a whiteboard and I can try to show it to you that way. So when we set length, what we're doing is we're setting the big block like that. We're saying that it starts at 0 and goes all the way to, in our case, based on the work we've done, 1068 is I think the exact number. I hate this whiteboard. It's perfect. So that's set length 0 1680. Everyone okay with that? Okay. Now what's important to understand is there's two things to consider. I'm not going to get all the way to 30. Okay, but we have record 0, record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4, record 5, record 6. Okay, that's the record position. Everyone okay with that point? It goes all the way up to record position 29. When we seek, do we seek based on our record position? So we seek 0, right? When we seek 1, then we seek 2, 3. Okay, we'll come back to the flush. Do we seek based on the record position, or what do we seek on? Try guess. Think about the code for a second. Think about what you would write in seek. We seek on the position and the size of the file. Okay, that is known as the file position. Okay, that is known as the file position. So this is the record position. So change the color. Record position. Okay. Then we have a file position. You can't see clearly. That you can't see either. Red is visible. File position. Okay. And this is then 56, 112, 168, 200, I'll get back to you on that one. So I got this one, 200 and it's 4 across 1, 7 plus 5, 7 plus 5, 2. No, it can't be right. Bulk. 224. Okay, it is 224. Then 280. Okay. When we seek the file position, ladies and gentlemen. So when we go and say seek, it's the record position times the file size, the record size, rec size. In our case, the record size is 56. Every time we seek, you're always going to see us based on a record position and record size. So record position times record size gives us a file position. We seek based on our file position. Does that make sense to the person asked about seek and file set length? Whenever we're seeking the file position. Okay with that? Okay. Okay, so that's the set length and seek as best as I can explain it right now. So can you please show us how you made the interface? What is the purpose of flash? Flash is to push all bits of data into the file. Because you're writing such a little bit of information every time, like in this case 56 kilobits, the computer might not see the point in pushing it into the file or moving the arm in the hard drive to save it to file. So the flash forces the computer to save it to file. It's the same as when you eject your flash drive, you're closing all connections, you're forcing all the information that's needed onto your flash drive before you take the flash drive out. Mr. van der Westhuizen's example of a toilet is the same scenario. You are flushing the contents away, you're pushing it onto the next destination. So flushing is pushing the data to file and not letting it stay in memory. It avoids getting it corrupted. We seek to the position and the size of the file. That's the file position. Hopefully that makes more sense. So coding blank record is a must-do when coding random access files. Personally, I think so. I know Mr. van der Westhuizen will disagree with me. No two programmers are alike. I like to have placeholders in my record file, so I know it's a blank record or not. Is everyone okay with what I've drawn on here? Can I move back to the code? Okay. Let's see if it swaps over. There we go. So again, this is creating the file. So we set up the file stream, set up the binary writer, we set the length. We seek to every single possible location, writing blank records. We flush, we close, we set everything to nothing. Okay. To save, this is saving. So we set the length, we get the file stream, we get the binary writer. We seek the position again. Remember, we're hashing. So here we're hashing the beverage ID. The hashing is done here. The key mod 29, because 29 is the closest to 30. And then we go to that specific file position and we write the ID, the beverage number, the name, the ingredients, 1, 2, and 3. We flush, we close, we return, and we return true, so the program knows that this is completed. So that's saving. Reading is slightly different. Reading also includes us checking for blank. Okay, we're not handling collisions here. We're assuming that no collisions will occur. So for don't worry about if there's a large interval between the number of records and the prime number. the rule is always take the nearest prime number below the record size. So if the record size is 30, you look for the nearest prime number below 30. If the record is 35, you look for the nearest prime number under 35, regardless of the gap. We hash when we save, we hash when we read. Binary formatter is designed only to work with objects that are serializable. Binary reader and writer are designed to work with random access files when you're only writing pieces of information at a time. Binary formatter writes chunks of data at a time, if the reader-writer writes individual pieces of data at a time. Hashing is always done. 1, 2, 3. That's reading from file. So let's just go through reading. Firstly, for reading, we need the key, whatever the key is. We open the file stream, we get the binary reader. We seek to that specific file. So we go to the file, we seek that specific record. We read the beverage number. We obtain the beverage number. And then we check if the beverage number is -1. If it's -1, it's a blank record. If it's not -1, it's a valid one, and we continue to read. Okay, read in 32 is what we're reading. Because remember, we wrote an integer, string, an integer, an integer, and an integer. Now we need to read an integer, a string, an integer, an integer, an integer. Read in 32 tells the program what to read and what to look for. No. Technically, I want the file closed before it returns. So I've read the information. If it's blank, I don't need to read anymore. If it's blank, I don't need to read anymore. So I close it off and send the blank record. If it isn't blank, I continue to read. So why is E2 a fixed variable? It's not a fixed variable, it's an option to read. So if you look here, I go dot, see there's lots of different read. There's read Boolean, byte, bytes, chars, decimal, doubles, integers, 32, 64, S bytes, singles, strings, unsigned integers, etc. There's various different reads. We need to tell the computer what it is reading. Now it is reading an integer of size 32. So it's not a fixed variable, it's more about what you're reading from the file. The computer needs to look for a 32 bytes of data, or bits of data. 32 bits. 4 bytes is 32 bits. Why 32? Because we're working with 32. We're working with 32 as a size of the integer. Okay, because we're working with since we're not working with working with integer 32s. Okay, you guys are going really off question. How does a char data type read data? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Char is a single character of a string. Char will read 2 bytes, I'm guessing. Have you guys tried this yourselves yet? I know one of you had, because one of you said you had a null reference exception. No, we're not going to specify you use in 32. You should know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you need to try this practical. Asking me questions without trying it doesn't really help. I'm explaining it to you, but if you haven't done it yourself, it's not going to make sense. In that case, I'm only going to release this code like beginning of next week. Because you guys need to try it yourself, or release it on like Tuesday next week. The -1 is just to indicate a blank record. And you're offline, so it doesn't help answering the question. Okay, he's left the session. If he comes back, I'll answer his question. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to try it yourself. This is not going to come through. Yes, your question. Someone raised their hand. Okay. You raised your hand again, you can talk. Okay. Mr. Basson is back. -1 indicates a blank record. That's all it's there for. It's not a location. It's not anything. It just indicates a blank record at that specific location. So if I read a record at position 1, it's -1, it's blank. Yes.
I don't know if you got my question. I asked a question. Difference between reader binary formatting.
Formatters work with chunks of data. Binary reader and writers work with single pieces of information. It's the easiest way to explain that.
Okay, thank
when you do a binary formatter, you're saving an entire object. When you're using a binary reader and writer, you're saving individual pieces of data, so like an integer or a string at a time. Formatter works with an object, so you format an object into binary, while a binary reader and writer converts integers, strings, and doubles, etc. into binary. So individual pieces of information. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. So let's finish. Yes.
So you didn't set the average number to -1 as an initial value.
I did.
Okay, now I understand, because I was kind of confused with that. Now I understand. Thank you, sir.
I did. It's set in the form load. Okay. So let's finish off the code, because this was incomplete from last time. And then I'll show you the code. I'll show you the interface. I'm just setting up my array of the different orders. And then every time I create a new order, so it is, it's just, would setting beverage number to 0 be a problem? No. 0 would also be a valid blank location. Because the values are between 1 and 4,500, it's a valid one to use. Okay, what we can do, make this a bit better. File. I can't use a while loop. Or something else, but we'll come back to that if I can think of a better way to do it. But now we need to read in the orders for each and every cocktail. Okay. Just again, a recap of what the code involves, or the code has in place. We have a place table, form, place result, form load, which sets the blank record, and place labels. Create the file. Okay. This is designed to create a file we start working with. We then have a display function that will display all the records. We have a save button. I must just do a validation here. I'll come back and do that hopefully with the time we have today. We have a save function which saves an individual record to file. So I save the record to file, I close it, I return true. If I'm reading, similar situation, I open, I read, I check if I've got a blank. If I've got a blank, I return a blank. If I don't have a blank, I read the rest of the information and then return the information. Now I'm working with creating a cocktail menu based on the information in the file. So I'm reading in the order number for the cocktail menu, the number of guests, the jumbo. I need to read in the orders 1, 2, 3, and 4. And unfortunately, there is no way to do it easy because I'm not using input boxes, I'm using text boxes. So I'll pretty much have to repeat this section of code 4 times. Bev 1, Bev 2, Bev 3, and Bev 4. Jumbo. Cocktail 1. Two, 3, 4. So this is cocktail 1 equals cint txt cocktail 1.text. This is then cocktail 1, and this is then ev1. Let me just finish what I'm doing. I'll come back to your question. I'm going to make a huge mistake now. I'll go check it when I finish this. Rid of these ones because these ones are all going to have to be changed as well, and it's wasting time. This is not the most elegant way to do it. I know that. There's probably a better way to do it. I just honestly can't think of it now. I mean, based on what we've taught you, I can't think of one. So what's going to happen is I'm going to repeat this 4 times. That's cocktail 1, cocktail 2, 2, 2, 2, going to number 2. If we could do local copy pasting or replacement, I would. And I have to replace these to See, this is why input boxes are sometimes more useful, but input boxes sometimes aren't always the easiest, the correct option. Okay, and it's not that my mic is broken, so I'm not talking much right now as I'm concentrating on not screwing up the pasting. It's always very easy to do that. Excuse me. Should be 2. You get in the copy pasting area. Someone's picked up a mistake I've done. 3, 3, 3. I 183 is fine. Okay, let me go. So, talk. Let's have a quick question.
So, yeah, you wrote one, so you didn't change. There's a beverage and ingredient in line 183, so you didn't change it. I just spotted it out. So
It's cocktail 3, beverage 3, cocktail 3.
yes, sir. Move the line.
Beverage beverage 3, ingredient 1, beverage 3, ingredient. Beverage 3, ingredient 3. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
the name and ingredient 1. Oh, it's 1. Okay, okay. So, okay. My bad. I thought you were supposed to be good.
No, it's supposed to be
Yeah.
ingredient 1.
Okay, so
This is where copy and pasting can get dangerous because you can make simple mistakes. So thank you for that.
okay, so
Ingredient 1, not ingredient 2. Oh, there's a bugger up. Thank you. Let's just have a look at that. Choose these. See, that's why copy and pasting can be dangerous, is if you do it too quickly, sometimes have a mistake that affects quite a lot of things. It's fine now. Let me just check the lines, because someone said line 165, something there. Okay, line 165, we're reading in the jumbo. We from the line, we're reading it from the file. We then check it's not a blank one. We then assigning it to the jumbo cocktail, and we in beverage name ingredient 1, ingredient 2, ingredient 3. Then the person said 170. It should be we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and we have 4. That is also a mistake that it would have affected the system quite negatively. 175. We don't have objects. Remember that. Yes.
oh, so, my question was, I thought you were instantiating. Since I saw the new C beverage, I thought you were instantiating or something.
No, I'm instantiating a new beverage. Yes.
Oh,
I'm storing inside cocktail.
All right, sir. Okay.
I'm instantiating. Remember, I've got the information in the file. I'm reading the information from the file into an object.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay. Remember, this is like a menu. I've got the menu saved somewhere, and now I'm saying I'm ordering it. So I say I want the Springbok, or I want this. They don't need to go and create it from scratch. They just look at the menu and see what a Springbok is. So that's what I'm doing here.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Have I covered all the lines? 161. Cocktail 1, 2, 3, 4. I fixed the comma there, 183, and okay. I think that's all the mistakes fixed. So let's look at this program running. I know it's going to be a bit small, but I can't. Zooming in also takes my ability to see it properly. So We create the file. Everyone can see it's a blank file, correct? Nothing's inside here. So if I try and make a cocktail menu now, can I make it? Do I have anything to work with? Okay, so let's go and build our cocktail, our beverages. So let's say this ID is 500. Name is rum 50, 50, 50. Let's go. Let me test you guys' knowledge. And that is a potent. 89, 89. Depends which restaurant you go to or where you get this made. That's a very dangerous drink. Spring Book. Those are mediums. Now clearing would be a lot simpler. I'll improve this just now. Let's just get a few in here. Give me some other names. Let's just go. You all adults. Acid breath. What's an acid breath? There's something else. I'm running. I know a few, but I wanted to show how much I know. Milk tart. Ulrich. What's an Ulrich? Give me these names, but you're not telling me what. Oh, that might have been have a problem. I think that's enough. Let's see what we got. Okay. So if now we look at and we display the file again, we have at record position 2, ID number 900, milk tart. At record position 8, value 500 on R&R. 10, ID 502, Springbok. 1365, we got acid breath. 450s at 16, we got Ulrich. We got at 21, 600, Sex on the Beach. Okay, so you see they saved in their respective locations. Is everyone okay with that for the random access file part? Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? What I was doing before was pulling the information into here. Now I want to create a cocktail menu. So I call this cocktail menu number 1. It's for 4 guests. The jumbo is going to be a R&R, so 500. And we're going to have a Springbokie. We're going to have a 502. Wait, no. 502 Springbokie. We'll throw in a acid breath. We'll throw in a Ulrich. And we'll throw in a Sex on the Beach. And then we create our cocktail menu. Now, if it doesn't break, what did I do? What did I do? Well, everything turned off on me. Yeah. Look, some of Visual Studios, I broke it so much, Visual Studios, I decided to crash. Okay, but the nice thing, ladies and gentlemen, this is the very nice thing, a very useful thing. Since I saved the information to file, I still have them. So number 1, guest 4, jumbo 100. 502, 900, 50, and like my 600s. Yep. Last two at breaks. And now reference. Okay, what am I not doing, ladies and gentlemen? No, I didn't create the damn object. Okay, I didn't go and create the object. Smartest, the stupidest thing I could have. The one thing that I should not have forgotten. The 600. That is my one cocktail menu. Okay, and make another cocktail menu for 3 people. 502, 100, 50, 600, and then another 502. Also 4. So I can keep creating objects based on my information from file. One thing I haven't done is display, so I'm going to do the display functionality now. So that shouldn't be too long to do it. And I'll explain my interface, and those who are very keen on seeing how the hell I made this interface can then have a look then. Okay, for I as C as integer equals 1 to txt text equals this txt display the text not clear. And we're going to display cocktail order C dot display, I think. So check what I've overwritten. I overwrote the toString function. Let's run this again quickly so we can see it in all its semi-glory. Now, do you notice I'm not going and making the cocktail menu again? I'm just using the file we have. So I'm not worried about going and having to recreate all the information. I have it there ready. It's just referring back to it. Just make a couple of these. I'm not going to change much. So there, and we display. So order number 1, guest cocktail menu type 3 cocktail. So you can see the objects are being created as well and saved. I know I didn't put anything in the menu type. The menu type is calculated for me. If you look at the bottom here, menu type is there. It's a calculation done in the code. This is how this program works, ladies and gentlemen. There are a few things that I would still need to do. Is validate, which let's just do that now. me just see what the code is so I can show you a bit of extra stuff. That's reading, displaying, that's reading, seeking. Okay, here's the display. If value.bev number is greater or equal to 1 and value, come on, value number is less than or equal to 4,500, and else MSG box. Incorrect beverage ID used, please change. So let's run this. Beverage, let's go for 5,000. Name Brown, Jack Brown, B5050. A beverage, incorrect one. Now if we go into check, it's not saved to file. There's no Jack Brown. There's Milk Tart, there's R&R, there's Springbok, there's Acid Breath, Ulrich, Sex on the Beach. There's no Jack Brown. Okay, so I stop it from being saved because it's not within the boundaries that I'm using. So I'm in the form I'm validating as well. Is everyone okay with the random access file and the object now? Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's discuss the interface, as that's one thing I said I would. You'll notice that this interface doesn't look like your standard interfaces. It's got a lot of extra pieces to it. Okay, it's divided up. It's, please do not, for heaven's sake, do this in your exam. Also, don't do this in your semester test. This is going to waste time. This is just playing around. So I'm going to show you quickly. I'm just going to make another form here. So you can see how this all comes together. And please do not do this in, I'm warning you now, don't do it in a semester test. Waste of time. So there's a blank form. My properties for this. Now, if you look at our first one, you see it has something that we're very used to. It has a file, this file strip. So if you actually look inside here in all components, you're going to find a, I think it's a folder layout area, except what is it called? A menu strip. So I drag in a, where is it? Menu strip, drop it on, it adds a menu strip to the top here, and I can then start typing, I want file, I want a create file, I want an exit function, okay? But then I can go into the name and give this a file tool, file, this is a file tool, create file, file tool exit. You name them as you would. Just want to pick one thing. Form 2, so we can load that. So if I run the code now on this new file form I'm working with, your screen's blank on my side, hopefully it'll come straight. So hopefully you guys can see. There's my two icons I made. They do absolutely nothing because I've given them no functionality. Okay, to give them functionality, you need to double click on them and it creates the event for them. So that's how I made the tooltip, the menu strip. The tabs come from an option called tab control. So back to form, we look for a tab control and we drag it on. Now notice it's very small. It doesn't really fit the whole thing. So in this place, there is a correct setting called, where is it? Tab control, alignment. You can change the alignment to being top, left, bottom, right, etc. Let's go to top. I'm going to anchor everywhere. Where is it? There's a specific control I'm looking for. It is allow drop, no, dock. It's dock. I want dock everywhere. Okay, so dock everywhere fills the screen up. So instead of having to, because when I dock, notice as I make it bigger and smaller, the tabs grow with it. So if I dock something, I lock it to grow and shrink with the form. Everyone okay with that? It's the dock property. So I docked it to the entire program. Now with the tabbing, if you want to add another tab, you just add a tab. And now for each tab, let's see what I did. I have different aspects. So for each tab, I would have created maybe a group box. Then inside the group box, I went and added labels and text boxes. ID cocktail 1 to cocktail 2, cocktail 3, cocktail 4. Other one for the beverage type, add a button. No, only one. Also notice this with the group button, group box. If something's in a group box, it only exists in the group, so it locks itself away. And no other tabs aren't affected. So if I run the program, tab 1, tab 2, and tab 3 are unaffected. So each tab is its own separate page. So we can alter each one to do our own thing. Yeah, the recording's always uploaded. So there's a group box. A group box is just a way of grouping certain components together. So if I want to move it around, I can move them all together in one go instead of having to move each one individually. It's just a nice way of grouping things together. Then I had the grid, which you guys are used to. This is just a multi-line text box with a button, and this is just also a group box with names and a button. Okay. That's the interface. It's not actually complicated. It's just making use of all the different components that are here. And the only reason I know it is I played around with it. The panel in the tabs looks a group box, yes, to a degree, but each serves a different purpose. A panel is one interface, so you can have multiple panels. Are you talking about the panel? Panel. I think they are pretty much the same thing, except a group box has, let me just check. Similar functionality, actually, don't know what the difference is. Only reason I know about these things is I played around with Visual Studios in terms of getting menus and getting all this stuff together. So maybe in your holidays, to avoid forgetting everything you learned this year, play around with the interfaces, see what you can do. Okay, remember, a computer doesn't blow up if you make a mistake. It just wastes your time, which time when programming is never really wasted. You actually learn more than you learn how to do things like this. You learn how to make interfaces. You learn how to control the flow of a program better. It's things you can get better at. Prac 10 was last year's semester test, yeah. But that's the level on which your semester test will be, yes. So semester test 2 will be something similar to Prac 10 on the same level. Yes, it'll be on the same level as Practical 10, as Practical 10 is a past paper. That's the type of level we'll be going for. But again, for those who joined a bit later and for those who are listening to the end of the recording, be warned now for semester test 2, we are running through a copy checker. So if you get caught copying, all hell will break loose. This way, if you are caught copying in your semester test. Everything that is covered up until this week can be included in the semester test. So no random access files for semester test 2. I cannot deny or confirm that. We have not decided yet. Like we mentioned in class, we're flipping a coin, one for the SIG test, one for the main paper. Or both will be the same, or both will be different. Copying how, sir? I don't know. There's many ways to cheat. Okay, so we will be running through the code through copy checkers. Okay, the only reason what makes it this practical overwhelming, maybe the interface, I don't know. The idea is you're saving to file first, and then based on the file, you're retrieving the information. That's the only reason I think this practical is a bit more difficult than other ones. And also, it's the first time you saw full random access in function. Remember, only now have you covered all the aspects of random access. So if you actually try this practical now, it'll be a lot easier for you to do. So what I can suggest is try the tutorial 10 by yourself with the recording up to you, and try and actually see if you can accomplish it. I will try to find a few more practice random access files, yes. I will scan through some past papers and find some random access for you. Okay. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Because I don't want to keep you guys on too long, or the recording going on too long, because I know some of you are studying for tomorrow's semester test in CompSci. I've got to keep that in mind, as it's a bit unfair on those students as well. So any other questions? Remember, we still have the whole of next week. We're going to have like revision sessions for the tutorials next week for the semester test, because everything up until this week can be included in the semester test. So we finish the content for the semester test. So rather, if you're studying for CompSci tomorrow, go and study. I'll try and do this practical yourself and see how it works. Tutorial 10 is on Eve. So the question itself is there, and then next week Tuesday I'll upload this code to Eve, so you guys can see it yourself and play with it. I'm not uploading it now because I want you guys to try it yourself. It doesn't help to just copy and paste code. You have to try it yourself and then work from there. So any other last minute questions, go for them. So the scope is finished for semester test 2, yes. The scope is finished for semester test 2. How to make a DLL. I think Mr. Van der Westhuizen forgot to upload that set of slides. I'll remind him. Making a DLL is first off making a new project. So let's go make a new project. Now, up until now, you've always selected a Windows Form application, right? A DLL is a dynamic linked library. So up until now, you've always selected the Windows Form application, Windows Form app, you're going to now look something known as the class library. Okay, console. A class library. Got it standard. A project to create a VB class library.net. Let's go that one next. I'm going to call it a class. Let's call it tutorial. Eight. Let's call 10. Now, one thing you have to first notice: there's no form. Okay, there is no form to a class library. Class library consists only of classes. So I'm just going to go add existing item and go and steal a class. UJ the tutorial 2010 cocktail menu. I'm going to steal the cocktail menu and the beverage. So here I've got cocktail, I've got beverage. Thing is, I can't run this. I can't start this program. A DLL can't be started. It can't be run. All you can do with a DLL is build. So I'll build my solution. Okay. Once I've built my solution, I can go to where I saved it. There's in the repro. So I need a file like that. Then I need to go to C drive, users, repos. Where's source? Oh, it's source, repos, tutorial, that one. I go to its bin, and inside here I'll have the name of the project.dll. That is a DLL, okay? So what I can do now, open up my cocktail menu. Let me open up a brand new project. This is a very crash course in DLL. So this is a brand new project. Everyone okay with that? I go to my solutions. I go to references. I right click and I add. And then I'll browse for that DLL. Now that DLL, as you saw, was located in my repo folder. Users, Raven, source, repos, name of the project, and debug DLL. Okay, a lot of work to get that. So if you look inside the references, you'll see tutorial 08-10. All of this effort, all of this work is for one simple thing. Private cocktail menu as C. So I import the DLL, and I've accessed the cocktail menu. Now, if we go look at our Solution Explorer, is there a class cocktail menu here in the solution? And I'm going through it very quick. I'm also rushed for time. I've got meetings from 3 o'clock onwards. There is no cocktail menu. There's no beverage in the code, but in the tutorial, the DLL I made, it's got beverage, it's got cocktail menu. So making a DLL is making a compressed version of all your classes in a file you can transfer. Your UJ grid is a DLL, just with a component added on. So a DLL is a package set of code that you can pass on to someone. They don't see the code, they just see the functionality. So they see the properties, they see the public aspects of the code. They don't see the code. I don't get to see what's going on inside the DLL. I can use the classes, yes, but I don't get to see what's happening inside there. So it's a way of me writing code, giving it to someone else. They're using the DLL without seeing the actual source code, but they have access to the code or the functionality I have made. Your projects consist of hundreds of DLLs. Systems, cores, data, all of these are DLLs. They're dynamic linked libraries that are added on to make the program work as you're used to seeing it. Okay, I did it very rushed. I'll remind Mr. van der Westhuizen to upload the lecture slides on DLLs. But that's a DLL roughly. Okay. It's about creating a dynamic link library of classes that you have. Any other questions? The best way I can suggest, if you're stuck with the DLL, go download the video in about an hour or so, Blackboard, and you can watch the last section again just to see how I did what I did. Creating a class library, put the classes in there, and then passing the DLL across by adding a reference and then moving across. You can then follow the TUT quite close. You also can do a Google search on how to create DLLs in VB, and it'll go through a TUT on that as well. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording if there's no other questions.